so maybe it's my turn.
Sure, all right.
Because last time, I believe we were walking through the snow and ice of this frozen nightmare, as it's called. We were following a frozen river, on the word of our skeletal dragon friend. Well, the dragon's friend, anyway. Don't remember his name. But we were following his words on where to go, and we went there, and there were some wolves' howls, and we were like, well, we can. Wolves, we're like 4th level. Wolves are like scrub tier people. They're below bandits in the hierarchy of difficulty. And oh, were we wrong. We got attacked by wolves in Ice Hell, and they promptly, completely, and utterly humiliated us. We killed 2 out of 15 or so wolves, and then we were sent fleeing away, taking a campaign loss, losing Theridas Makkelson, the skeletal dragon's friend, and Fancy in the process. We had just gotten away then when we see another group of people coming towards us in the distance. Elves, seemingly. I believe 5 sort of little dudes who didn't really stand out to us. And then a woman. We approached them in a pretty dour mood at this point, and turns out that the elven woman is actually looking for help to fight a white dragon. We tell her that she can come with us and leave this icy hell, or she can stay and die with her men. She doesn't take this nicely and says, well, your friend is dead. I have a way to bring her back. All you have to do is recover an artifact that I need to do this with from the white dragon that I'm searching for his lair. And we say, well, I suppose we have to take this chance, though it seems a little convenient for this elven lady that the thing she's searching for can do just what we need it to do, and that she turns out to just need our help. Anyway, we agree, and we go to lure out the white dragon. It arrives, and we handily humiliate it in battle, after which we follow it to its lair. Here we go down, leaving the guards outside to guard the exit, while we went in with the now sort of captive dragon, saying, we need this artifact sword, and it said that it was a guardian, and that it weren't allowed to give it, and whatnot. And so we went in. Graham took the artifact sword, and elven lady promptly turns into a dragon and betrays us because now she wants it really bad. We humiliate her in battle, beating her to a pulp, basically knocking her out and then bringing her down to like 1 hit point or something, so that we can instantly suck out her soul through her nose, should she try anything. And then we have her do the alleged ritual with a bit of extra magical assistance and money and potions and runes and all the loot from our previous adventures, basically, going into the pot there. All what we had left, anyway. She is doing the ritual. She'll bring Fancy back to life using this pile of goodies and the artifact blade. We're ready to strike her down the moment she does something we don't like. And I suppose that's really where we are. The white dragon, we allowed it to leave afterwards because we had no more use for it.
Well, he kind of ran away as soon as he had the chance. You didn't really allow him.
We sort of, well, we didn't follow him, I suppose we should say. So he did his thing, and well, I mean that's really where we are now, right?
Yeah, the
ritual is underway, and what happens?
No, the ritual is not yet underway. We stopped basically the moment you piled up the items that she has requested, and now we pick up again with her presumably starting the ritual.
All right.
As she is currently kind of gingerly inspecting the items, nodding to herself, shaking her head at others, and turns basically to speak to somewhat all of you. She says, to avoid misunderstandings and to assure that I will be able to complete my end of the bargain, I shall explain what I intend to do. Are any of you familiar with the Lexica Formalia in particular the chapter on abjuration. An old book, but I do believe that it is still used in most human academies for good reason.
Well, I might have.
I would suggest that that could be a good use in place for a skill check for your Artist 6, Jonas.
Sure.
As it turns out, the artist does lead, not personally of course, but most of the academies. Chances are that Enrican snooped around the books in one such academy while looking for whatever interested him. Sure. And he does, in fact, not only remember the book, but perhaps even knows it almost entirely by heart, because it is one of the most important books that every academy-trained wizard that doesn't necessarily focus entirely on combat, because it's not about combat, would in fact know.
All right.
So anything referring to that book from her, you can either confirm or deny.
All right.
She continues. The primary difficulty of the ritual is containment of the energies involved, for which we will use a slightly modified version of a containment circle. Chalk or charcoal will not do for this, hence why I needed your gold. I shall melt it, mix it with your runes, and prepare this chamber. Once that is done, I will activate it. I shall have to be inside the circle, together with the sword and your friend, so that I can direct the energies. One of you will have to monitor the circle from the outside. The item you gave will be placed nearby so that you may sacrifice it to strengthen the containment if necessary. The circle cannot be deactivated from within. If you do not deactivate it after the ritual has been completed, it will deplete its energy in about 2 days. But, of course, if you felt particularly spiteful, you could keep me stuck in it for as long as you maintain it after the ritual. He pauses slightly, frowning. Usually I do these rituals alone, but usually there are only 2 entities inside the circle. Myself and whatever of my creations I am currently working with. In this case, they will be 3. The blade, your friend, and myself. One of you will have to direct the circle to encompass only the blade and your friend, directing the blade's energy into your friend once the energy is released. Make absolutely sure to keep me protected, or I will not be able to control the ritual's outcome. And also do make sure that you direct the blade towards your friend. Doing it the other way around would create an interesting result if it worked. Do any of you, in fact, feel capable of a magical feat of some difficulty?
Yes.
Remember, look to Enrican. He's the guy who does that.
Sure. Enrican is certainly feels up for it.
Good. As she will do quite a number of steps. You have given her a day, as you said, and it does look like she will, in fact, need pretty much all of that time. As she starts with clearing out the rubble from this room where both the blade and Fancy's body currently lie on the floor, perhaps occasionally glancing towards you to maybe help, but not really saying anything.
Don't think Graham would help.
As she does so pretty meticulously, not only pushing away the boulders and rocks, but also flattening the ground somewhat, digging here and there. And once that is completed, a process that takes really a good hour, she starts clawing at the floor of the chamber, drawing very carefully a centimeter at the time, a circle. As she progresses, the circle does look almost perfect. A feat that is not easy to really do without any sort of guidance, but looks like she has done something like this multiple times at least. As she draws one of these circles, digging it into the floor, she does another smaller circle inside of it, and eventually gets to scratching between those two circles a set of letters, runes, really. The same runes that, of course, the language on the entire continent consists of, which also happens to be pretty much the same letters of the ancient Draconic language that has long since been replaced with a sort of hybrid. Anarchan would be able to confirm that, yeah, this does very much look like a containment circle as presented in the book. Pretty much exactly by the book, in fact. And he might even remember that the book's author was, in fact, a gold dragon by the name of Emilisanth. Even. Of course, she didn't write the book herself, but probably dictated it to a scribe or something. An old book, multiple hundred years at this point. And while...
It's a long con.
It's a long con, yeah.
Soon I'll be able to cheat these
while
fools because I wrote the book.
And while the circle looks extremely similar, there are minor differences. Although Anarchan does have enough magical knowledge to understand their function, and they at least don't seem like an attempt to blow up the room or whatever, but rather minor adjustments to which energies in particular the circle focuses on. And this is another process that takes 1, 2, 3 hours. Hard to tell, but it is slow work. And after that has been completed, she pauses a bit, looks towards you, says, "Do any of you have an iron pot? I'm afraid I will have to ruin it for this."
Graham shakes his head. Doesn't carry cooking equipment.
Maybe Fancy had, because she did cook food, I do recall.
That's true. I suppose Graham will take out Fancy's iron pot. Looking at the dragon.
The big dragon frowns a bit at this, and frowns again, looking mainly towards Anarchan here.
Mm-hmm.
I am not quite well enough to really follow through with this ritual. You have given me healing potions. I would like to make sure that once I drink them, you will not see that as an attempt to resist. As she doesn't really wait for an answer, but grabs both of the potions inside of the circle, and will basically crunch down on the vial, just swallowing the entire thing.
Delicious glass in my throat.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't seem to mind too much. And after a few moments, she takes a little break from her work, sitting there, eyes closed, as ever so slowly the golden scales, the illusion of golden scales, does return one at a time, first faintly, and then after a little while, she does look like she maybe once has, and also perhaps looks slightly less annoyed at this. Perhaps a flicker of genuine interest in everything. As she takes the pot, pours in all the gold you've given her, and with some controlled bursts of flame, melts the entire thing, crushing the runes, mixing the entire thing, using one of her talons, one of her claws as like a stick, like a whatever, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And proceeds to fill the ridges and runes she has written in the room with the molten gold. Afterwards, she arranges the blade and the body. At this point, it's basically like 8 to 10 hours later.
Graham is standing in the same place, looking the same, looking at it, untouched by time.
Yep.
He looks towards you again. In theory, I think things could be ready. You do not seem like the patient times. Usually I would double check.
Anarchan looks at her and says, "Well, double check then."
She She nods again, and for basically another 5 to 6 hours, she will just sit there looking at the different aspects of the circle, kind of as an afterthought. Draw the circle made from dirt, really, around the magical item that you've given her, adjacent to the other circle. And good, like 16 hours in total later, she once again looks towards you and says, "I am ready."
Okay, nods. It's time to begin.
As she will move into the circle, which I shall place just for...
I'll look to Enriken, basically, making sure that because he doesn't really he gets a little bit of what's going on, but not like the grand scale of things. So basically, he would be ready to charge it and slash this dragon in the face. Should Enriken basically do anything that suggests that that's what should be done.
Yep. Enriken will nod.
As she will close her eyes, sitting inside of the circle, her tail bent in a careful manner as to not touch the circle at all. As she sits there concentrating, she does, in a sort of mumbly voice, does say, "I have brought people back to life before, you know. Not through this method, however. This is an experiment. It should work in theory. Back then I used to do it with divine assistance, something I've long since forsaken. But that is hardly of relevance right now."
With remembering the book by heart, does Enriken kind of confirm what she's saying here? That this seems legit, basically?
The theory is it could work, perhaps a bit far-fetched, although all the little bits and pieces of the ritual, the circle, the smaller circle, the theory of directing the energies, of excluding her, those are definitely theories that are not only presented in that book, although mostly in that book, but generally agreed upon as magical principles. It's a combination of many different schools of magic in a way that, well, it's rather, to Enriken's mind, all these bits and pieces put together is perhaps a bit genius, really.
Mm-hmm.
Although, of course, there's a bit of perhaps madness in there as well, blowing up an artifact and then basically channeling the energy of an explosion to do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to require a lot of finesse, mostly from her, whereas your job will be to keep her safe, essentially.
Oh, yes.
And he can also confirm that it is very true that the circle can only be turned off from the outside, not from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So what would turning off the circle do?
It depends on the situation, really. In the middle of the ritual, it would be devastating.
Blow up everyone.
Something like that, probably. Before or after would only, disable the circle and make it useless. But during the ritual, Enriken would be dangerous, to say the least. For everyone involved, regardless whether alive or not. Perhaps not as dangerous as if the blade was a true artifact, but still quite something. As she will concentrate, and after a moment, rising from the runes, a sort of bluish, yellowish film of energy that flashes into existence and then once again disappears. Not disappearing because it's gone, but simply turning completely translucent. Visible, most likely only to those who have some skill at magic. So in this case, definitely Gilgalad, and most definitely Enriken. As the dragon once again turns mostly to Enriken again, but then turning towards Gran, saying, The circle is called a containment circle for good reasons. It will not allow most energies or people or weapons to pass through it. I figured you should be aware of that, as attempting to do so would be harmful.
Yes, without spine says, I'll only be going through it once Enrican has lowered it regardless.
She
Now,
doesn't.
you just make sure this works. For all of our sakes.
She, for a moment, raises her head in a slightly, perhaps, haughty, arrogant gesture, but then once again looks down a bit.
Oh, I heard her flat on her back begging for mercy. You can't be haughty to me.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't work on us, dragon.
As with her spoken words of, we shall begin. We shall begin. As the ritual progresses, Anarchan is presented with challenges and choices.
Yeah.
The challenge, first of all, to do as she says, to direct the circle's energy. Not a terribly difficult challenge, but one that does require skill, finesse, and concentration.
Alright. I'm gonna using my Master of the Mystic Arts here.
That is definitely appropriate.
To trying to direct this. So it's a D20 plus my level plus skill, ability modifier plus skills. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's a 19.
Anarchan does have trouble a bit. He knows that he can direct the circle's energy to those that he wants to protect, but in very, very rare cases, there might be complications.
Sure.
Although he does know if complications occur, that's where the magic items come in. Magic item comes in that is lying next to the circle, basically, as a sort of emergency reserve of energy that he can draw upon.
Sure.
But the question would be, do you do as she says? Because right now you have the ability to protect anyone, anything, or nothing from the energies that a Millicent does seem to be about to unleash.
Or do you think Malakasha destroyed the world?
I blow up. Yeah.
Totally worth
Well,
it.
well, the circle is protecting the outside in general, but she did tell Enrican to direct the energies towards Fancy, protecting her. But Enrican does have other possibilities.
No, we'll do that. The priority is to try to get Fancy back. Vengeance comes later.
Mhm.
So we will do as she says.
All right. As Enrican then directs the energies with some skill, although there are hiccups here and there, he does manage to create a sort of shimmering golden film around Amelysynth, who, with a touch that seems to melt the blade as it happens, not on a physical level, but rather energy suddenly leaking into the circle, swirling around. A lot of oranges and yellows in flittering swirls of energy, just as she is in deep concentration, directing her, well, not gaze as her eyes are closed, but her head towards Fancy. She too seems to run into a bit of a hiccup as the energies continue swirling for minutes, not really doing much. But her concentration is unbroken, and still she is fighting against resistance. As after a little while, one of her eyes opens for just a moment as she speaks towards, well, everyone, but it's most definitely directed towards Enrican. I cannot bring your friend back. There's resistance. The spell works, the ritual works, but something refuses her to come back. Something that is stronger than I am.
Convenient.
Is there any way for Anakin to confirm this? Can he observe the energies and like what she's trying to do when like?
Give me another skill check.
Okay.
Same modifiers as before.
22.
Well, knowing the book and the theory behind it, it does seem like she's trying.
Mm-hmm.
Like she is almost close to forcing the energies into the body. Although Anakin knows that would, in the best case, animate the body, but not bring back Fancy.
Mm-hmm. He will call out to Graham and says, "It seems correct. The energies right now would animate the body, but not bring her back."
Graham will frown.
As
Looking upon the dragon.
the dragon now almost enveloped in a maelstrom of yellow and orange energies, battering against the circle's outer edges, creating bluish and golden sparks. Speaking once again and saying, there might be another way, perhaps not the solution you intended, but if you direct if you direct your friend's energies towards the blade, you might return part of her, at least.
A fancy sword.
I will again look to Enrikin to see if this is bullshit or not.
Is this bullshit or
At
not?
this point, he
Sheep?
doesn't know.
Recalling the book.
I will just absorb it myself.
Ah!
No, give me another skill check.
Sure.
Answering these questions.
24.
It's only getting better.
It's better and better.
It's the theory neither confirms or denies this. It would be a leap of faith. Putting like a person's energy that seems to resist into a broken artifact could have dire consequences. Not necessarily for those outside, because that's what the circle is for, but at least for the artifact and the person, whatever remains of it on a spirit level even.
What I would ask then is, if Fancy is in heaven, would this force her out and put her in a sword? Because I don't think we would want that.
Yeah, we probably don't want to imprison her forever inside a blade.
Yeah, that
we
doesn't
might
seem
like
to,
if it's
ruin her
like
soul forever.
if it's
That
like
doesn't seem nice.
If it's like an imprint of her or something, then that's fine, I think. But if it's
like
her
the body's
actual
energies, but
yeah, if it's like her actual soul in there, that might be a bit much.
Well, Enrikin really doesn't know what exactly would happen.
Gilgalad!
Priest! We need a priest!
Out of heaven and put in a weapon! Quickly!
But anyone with some sort of religious background could ponder the question.
Ponder the question, please. While I try to contain Armageddon over here.
Pondering the question as we speak. And he may also attempt to speak with his magical items and, consider perhaps the way they see, the situation, like, are they feeling imprisoned in the item or are they glad they are alive in some way?
Okay. Give me a skill check with a religious background.
I would like to just consider the fact if we would be pulling her soul out of heaven or merely some sort of residual thing in the body doing this.
Would you say that is wisdom?
Intelligence.
Yeah.
The question is knowledge.
Okay. And I will try to apply my cleric background, as this is my training upon the religious matters.
This is an interesting class they had.
28. Alright, Gilgalad would know that most strong-willed, afterlife spirits would generally, if they resist, not be able to pull, it wouldn't be easy to pull them into any sort of containment if they resist. We're talking like divine intervention levels of power required here. Gilgalad does not think that this broken artifact would have the power to do that. If it was a true artifact, then perhaps. But the best that this thing could do would perhaps pull, although most likely copy, some part of Fancy into the broken artifact. And piggybacking on that rule, consulting with the magic items that Gilgalad has, would realize that magic items, your usual magic item is far different of what is being attempted here. This normal magic items use magic item spirits. They use spirits that are either artificially created, sort of simple intelligences really, or some sort of ambient magic pulled into some sort of spirit form really, but never a person or anything like it.
I see.
So this is a whole nother stage of magic item. It's somewhere. If magic items are robots, this would be a cyborg.
Okay, in that case, Gilgalad is gonna say to the rest of them, this kind of energy you're dealing with here is not quite enough to cause her soul to be formed into this blade. It may cause perhaps an imprint into it. Perhaps it may even split her soul into it.
Well, I'm fine with an imprint.
It is still a very dangerous process, as I understand it.
For us or for the dragon?
For
Or for Fancy?
Fancy's existence.
She does need an answer very quickly as the energies are intensifying and growing more chaotic. Her concentration not completely slipping, but certainly being strained towards its limit. As even Enrican might find it harder and harder to keep the circle really stable, let alone protect a medicine from the energies.
Gilgalad is gonna turn to Anrakin and say, if it was up to me, I would say Fancy deserves to rest in peace.
What if we put the dragon soul in there? Well, Graham doesn't know. He doesn't understand this. He's super magical. He tried to understand it. I don't think a 14 is enough to get anything, really.
No.
Would that be possible to Gilgalad's knowledge?
What exactly is the question?
Pulling the dragon's Melisande soul into the sword instead of Fancy's.
Well, with Gilgalad's previous role, maybe, although pondering whether that is practical and currently possible would be another skill check related to arcane magic. There's no divine magic involved here.
That would make a freak. Enrican, would it be possible to...
So, yeah, instead he would say, finishing the previous sentence, Fancy should rest in peace, but there is another soul present in the circle.
Yeah, but we need to take control over the ritual, and we don't. I'm just maintaining the barrier.
Try to roll your...
The theory.
You can do a check, though,
Yeah.
as Sheep said. Because you're the arcane person.
Sure, I can do a
I
check.
could help you, but Graham really wouldn't.
Oh, boy.
Natural
God.
20.
Yeah.
I know
That's how
fucking.
you fucking take control of the
Let
ritual, man.
me tell you something about souls and what I do to them.
All right. Not only has Enrican gotten the circle under full control again, with very little chance of anything going wrong in case the ritual fails, but he also realizes that he kind of gets the gist of what Millicent is doing. It is quite something, and her job in there, Enrican would know, isn't easy. But Enrican has control over who gets affected by the energies and which energies affect what. Really, the dragon's job is pretty much done. She has extracted the energy from the sword that is currently swirling around, which should really do the rest of the ritual by itself if just directed a little bit, which Enrican could very much do.
Now, if I do this to something that does not want to go into the sword, would the sword be cursed? Like, what would happen to it? Would we be able to wield something like that without having it
I
stab
mean,
us?
the goal would be to have her knowledge, but also in a way get our revenge on this asshole dragon. Who
Yeah, but
betrayed us.
if we put her in a sword, maybe she becomes like a lich, you know?
Anakin would realize that whatever is done with the sword, it would retain its the sword would retain basically its previous identity in addition to whatever else happens.
Oh my!
So it's still like a good lawful sword.
The sword is one of order.
Mm-hmm.
It itself would refuse to ever be cursed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I could put the dragon in the sword, guys.
Go for it.
All right.
Is it something? Yeah. I mean, if it's something Enrico would do right now, Graham is pretty angry. Like.
Yeah.
And he was also feeling a little helpless here. Because he can't.
Because what I want, the only reason for me to spare this dragon would be so I could tap its knowledge. Because I have
basically. And if we can have that access.
Oh, the dragon must die.
Then at least we have gained something from the sacrifices we gave it.
Anakin would realize that if he does that, he wouldn't really put the entirety of the dragon's being into the sword, but a very good imprint, essentially. A part of it.
Mm-hmm.
A part that might expand once the sword would be completely finished. A part that would definitely be there, but it's not really a person you can talk to. You could still perhaps draw upon what makes whatever being you put into the sword itself, really. But it wouldn't be a person you could talk to. That said, Enrican would know that there are magic items that provide knowledge. The principle is there, the theory is there. Of course, they don't usually contain real essences of beings, but I mean, he thinks it should work.
History is being made. It is like clay to your hands.
What would happen to a dragon in this case? Would it like be ripped apart? Like,
all Enrican would do here is to not protect a medicine, but Fancy's body instead, and the energies would do the rest. Ripping and tearing would be involved. Something that Anakin would also know would be a bad idea is to not protect anyone, because if you let the energies consume both Fancy and the dragon, the result would be unpredictable and probably bad.
Sure.
This is one of those telltale game moments where you see like the two possibilities, like sacrifice the dragon, sacrifice Fancy's soul.
Or
who will you choose?
I mean, I guess we take the dragon, right?
Fancy wouldn't want this.
No.
If there's even a small chance
don't
of ripping
think
her
so.
soul out of its resting place and flaying it, that doesn't seem like the thing we were going for. That doesn't seem like the thing the dragon was telling us it could do.
No.
No. But the dragon, as I think we've all realized, and as Graham realized at least, is trying to somehow like find a way out of this.
Yeah.
It's cornered. That's why it's doing this.
Sure. Let's rip the dragon to pieces and put it into the sword.
Filthy beast.
Anakin's eyes will glow with a sickly green and bluish light as he will redirect the energies, protecting Fancy and letting them rip into the dragon, while his face is just this mask of cold fury looking at it.
The thin film of golden sparks dancing around the dragon, protecting it from the violent orange and yellow energy swirling around the circle, disappear, slowly moving towards Fancy instead, caressing her in a way, hugging her unfortunately lifeless body. The dragon pretty much immediately drops out of its concentration. The illusion of golden scales once again disappearing, but not in a sort of way that the illusion is disappearing, but rather that the illusion is being ripped apart. And the ripping illusion itself revealing that it's not just the illusion getting ripped apart, the energies eating at her, completely consuming her, making her body join the violent maelstrom.
Henrikin will he will step forward during this, power just swirling around him as he controls it.
Like hands
And
raised in the
hands
air.
raised, exactly. He's chanting and doing whatever he needs to do. And then looking at the dragon, he will say, "You killed her. You killed the only good being I have ever known. You have taken so much light from this world, and you will pay for it."
If there's anything Graham can do to help, like what he usually does for Enrikin is to supply more energy, and if that's needed, then he will certainly just reach his hand out, basically, to be siphoned, should the requirement be there.
Yeah, Enrikin does think that directing and controlling the circle will need a lot of energy, but he finds himself really able to tap that much energy by himself. He doesn't even have to burn the magic item that probably would have on a worse day.
He's just a font of magic at this point, just cascading out.
As
Unlimited power.
Somewhere a blind sage looks up from his papers, begins to scream, falling backwards on his chair.
Exactly. Children all over the world start screaming for no apparent reason.
Crying in bed.
Yep. Old men get heart attacks.
And as the dragon's body is slowly evaporating into the whirlwind of energy, she looks at Enrikin with absolute rage, with surprise, absolute surprise really. But as her entire existence really goes to an end, perhaps a bit of sadness and acceptance as well. Just as the last particles of her essence floating around in the circle, and then quite expertly directed towards the blade by Enrikin. As the entire wave of swirling energies crashes into the piece of metal, it heating up glowing red hot for just a moment. As the cave is once again silent. The containment circle
All of the power.
transparent, flickering only occasionally, as if in exhaustion.
Graham lowers
Enrikin
his
is pretty
axe
sure that the ritual is over.
for the first time in 18 hours or something like that.
Enrikin leans heavily on his staff.
And then goes to help him if he needs it.
Yeah, he leans on that link, panting. It is done.
Graham looks at his body. Is it unscathed? Is it singed or?
Absolutely untouched.
All right. Well, can he? He will look to Enrikin to see if the circle is like a thing he can cross now, or if it's still.
If it can be crossed, Enrikin will basically go ahead.
Enrikin can basically at will turn it off.
Okay.
Although he's pretty sure he couldn't really turn it on again, but it has served its purpose.
Sure, he'll turn it off.
Right. The Wraith Dragon's.
I have returned!
Your power is mine. He'll go and check up on Fancy once again. She's probably very cold at this point, maybe a little bit frozen to the ground even. Well, I guess it was very hot in there just now, so.
Enrikin will lean down and sit down and gently caress the blade.
It's still somewhat hot to the touch, but it is, in fact, as Enrikin predicted, emitting not only the feeling of absolute law and order, but also something very familiar, something beautiful, something friendly, something that you really wish to hug sometimes. A clash, a clash in really character inside the blade that is palpable, but it seems to be okay.
It's like this really friendly grandfather now.
Oh, that seems familiar.
It's all like, order and be very honest and stuff, but also very caring and friendly.
And look to Enrikin. Says, did it work?
I think so. Looking down at the blade.
Link will go up and pick up Fancy.
This is just... if we wish to wield it, I suppose we would need to craft a hilt for it. Looks down at it. I suspect that the spy lady from way back when is carrying the 2 other items that is meant to be forged into this. She
I'm
did.
trying to remember if he saw something akin to that.
Graham maybe really wasn't paying attention at the time, but Anrican knows with absolute certainty that not only was he requested to look for a magical blade that might fit to 2 daggers that, if combined, look like a hilt, but now that he's interacted with the blade rather intimately, he's pretty sure that this is the exact blade that he promised to look for.
No. He will. Is there any way to wield the blade? Does it have like, when you forge a blade, it has that like metal
Stick thing.
that you put into a hilt? Does it have that?
No, it is really just the blade. On the other hand, it is not just a piece of metal, it is a magic item. If presented with a convenient hilt, the now awakened magic item would probably try to at least hold onto it enough to be usable. Be it a stick of wood or a piece of rock.
Oh. Bram looks to Henrikin. He will try to touch the blade as well, see how it feels to him to run his hand over it.
It feels pretty pleasant, really. There's certainly something very familiar in the blade, as well as something very alien as well. Something that demands a certain way to things, the only right way to things, but it's not overbearing in it. It's not a tyrant that needs the world to be in one particular way, but rather a tyrant that wants the world as it should be.
Oh, well, makes sense, I suppose. We'll look at it. So yeah, I think a hilt could be. And he will look to Fancy's silvery greatsword.
The handle would certainly have the right size.
Just expect American. I do not know how we would bring her back now. We would need someone of great divine power.
Slowly
Faint hope.
She resisted. She didn't want to come back. I don't think it would be.
I thought it would be the dragon's filthy lie.
He nods slowly. It seemed likely, but observing it, I would have to agree with it. It didn't look like she wanted to come back. And if that is the case, well, there's no reason to bring her.
That's just a funeral, perhaps, though. It seems almost wrong to do it in this icy climate.
Not slowly. But we can't really return home with her either.
That is true. Perhaps a single drop of beauty in this place.
Nods.
A memory for it to hold forever.
Would it be possible, Sheep, in this place, in this like icy cavern, could Anrikin perhaps cast a ritual of like a ray of frost to basically create an ice tomb for her here?
Oh, like one of those pillars with her body in it.
Exactly.
In like a pose of giving or something like that.
Exactly. Like frozen in beauty forever in a casket made of ice.
Yeah. And you know what? With the remnants of the magically supercharged ritual, you don't even have to expend the spell.
Okay. I think we do that then.
Like a minor god right now, just sort of weaving your hand as you just shape this like crystal throne of ice inside. We'll do it like in the center of this room, isn't that great?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
So here, like something like that.
Oh, in the center of the room. She would be.
Maybe that white dragon can be the guardian of that now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Basically shape a stand-up casket of ice where Fancy gets preserved for, well, as long as there is cold in these parts.
In memoriam shall be
Mhm.
written into it.
Exactly.
Like the year, you know.
Exactly. Yes. 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 Definitely. Carved in a plaque, put at the foot of it, like a stone or something. And yeah, here Fancy will stand. A pillar of hope and light and beauty to ever watch over this place and perhaps give some lonely traveler wonder and excitement. Who can say?
Maybe a little bit of refuge
Mhm.
in a storm to come someday.
Exactly.
And some soul may seek it here and find an eerie aura, perhaps, but a reassuring power as well.
Given
Shrine
the
of Beauty.
situation, I don't think Gilgalad's gonna use his usual elven prayers. This time he will use a humanoid prayer, one that he may believe is fitting for a funeral, and perhaps something to celebrate her purity, I suppose.
Well, we have her stuff, like her book with her. Oh, that's what we should do.
Oh, the poetry.
Yeah,
Yes.
like engrave the walls in it with the magic too.
Mhm.
Like
Yes.
all the
that
ice
would be
walls,
awesome.
just have them written,
Yeah.
like covering the walls.
Yes.
Oh.
Absolutely. This will be a cave of poetry.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Henrikin will, if he can, still. That will be what he does. He has read that book a lot of times. He knows it by heart, and will indeed direct the magic to form the necessary words and symbols around the cave to it. And like above, like if Fancy's like in the middle of the cave here, and then like behind her, like on the wall. So when you walk in, you see her, and then you see the wall behind her will be an ice imprint of the songbird, like wings spread. Sort of as it comes out, wings almost behind her, looking angelic. And then the
So it
poems
happens.
everywhere. Okay, then gently, Anakin will look over to Graham and say, "The blade cannot be wielded as it is now. We will need to forge it to something. If you are okay with it, I would like to carry it for a bit."
And we'll nod and say, "Sure." The great sword of Fancy should be fairly easy to fit to it. She was never one for material gain, and I think whatever gold she might have had on her should be given to those we meet who might need it.
That seems appropriate.
Gilgalad is gonna note that. As he may remember her, giving her gold away so willingly.
All right, she currently has 438 gold pieces.
Okay.
Can I just sort of put that in a pot and say, like, forget about it, and basically say, when we meet someone, like go to a city or something, we'll doll a little of that gold off every time.
Give it to urchins.
Yeah,
Buy some
whoever-
candy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
basically, just like have that as a fancy memoriam donation box
The Fancy Fund.
Yeah.
Fancy
for
Foundation.
aiding the poor. And 400
aiding
gold,
the
that's a
poor,
pretty good sum, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have, of course, 2 magical items: the Ring of Glory and the Martyr's Armor.
I can't really wear any of
Do you
it,
wear
I think.
armor, Gilgalad?
Wear light armor. Is it light?
It doesn't say if it's light or heavy. I assume it's
I
heavy
believe
because
it's
Fancy was
heavy.
wearing it.
It's heavy, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well,
Also-
I guess
also
we
worth
can't
noting-
really-
Worth noting that while you're investigating her magic items, it is, even without bonding to the magic item, very palpable, feelable, that the ring is alarmed. Like, incredibly panicked.
Panicked.
Yep.
If I touch it, does it tell me anything? Like, does it convey why?
Mostly in shock about what just happened and who was involved. But it
Oh,
doesn't
it
really
doesn't-
give any coherent, things.
All right.
So the ring may have known the dragon.
I will add the blade to my inventory.
I'll forge it once we get the chance.
Yep.
Alright. The armor, then, I suppose I'll just put in the backpack. Like, we don't have anyone who can use it currently. Like, we could leave it in the ice cave, but that would just make someone cut it out of the ice, which is really not what we intended to do.
The last thing we want is living treasure here.
It's like just like cutting into it with a pickaxe or something like that. Nope.
Let's not invite any grave robbers.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah,
that would
also-
be. That we would have to hunt them down, I think.
Also, to provide the blade with a hilt, you wouldn't really need to do any like metalworking or blacksmithing. As long as you provide a hilt, it will basically smith itself.
Oh, so it kind of fuses with it or something? Attach
So like
itself to
it wants to have a hilt, basically.
It
I
wants to
suppose.
have a hilt, yes.
Can we just sort of break the sword and give it one?
You could do that.
I suppose we should do that then.
The
No?
the silver handle.
If anyone can break a sword, probably Graham.
Anarchy will look to Graham and he will say, I think it is right and proper that this sword should be wielded for forces of good by us. We have earned that right at this point. And I think no one is better to wield the sword than you, Graham. However, with the dragon's knowledge imprinted in the sword, there are certain questions I would like to ask it. See if I can draw something out.
Of course. We have worked together for long, and Alexander says, "It's not like I'm going to be able to, am I? Is it?"
Anarchy
Perhaps
smiles.
if the dragon is right there, I can talk to it, but I doubt it's going to be so simple. At least until the item is finished.
We have created something that was not meant to be. This is an
Yeah, looks at us, looks at Gil-galad and says, "That seems indeed to be the theme of this room. A tomb for innocence and beauty."
a sword of grief or a blade of hope. I guess we'll see.
And then he lifts up the ring. Get it? Whoever wears this ring shall have an aura of importance. Shall be someone people notice.
Anarchy looks slightly alarmed.
Nods understandingly and says, "I can wield it so far, I think." So look, it says, we are going to lands, I think, perhaps where I might be somewhat known in a positive way. So,
Gil-galad will nod. It is part of my teachings to pass as less noticed as I can.
well, I was just about to offer it to you, man.
Drawing attention wouldn't be the most appropriate.
Maybe,
I
you know
remember
what,
when we got this
maybe...
item, it was like, so fancy.
Yeah, everybody just fancy take
Your
this.
ring.
You know, maybe we'll find some new friends who likes to be important.
But Graham, you have, you certainly have a history. Perhaps for now you can wear it yourself. Especially in these
First,
places.
though, before I do that, I suppose we will shatter the silvery greatsword and give the hilt to this thing, because if this thing would bring me over my item load, I'm sure as hell not going to do it for the ring. Basically.
Alright, I shall.
Nifty role-playing based item. Y'all, Graham. Think about that. Doesn't that sound nice?
See if the formatting is correct.
Oh my.
Like, that looks to be about right.
Could you send that to me in Skype? Or
Yes, I will also include the quirk
All right.
in the private message.
You go crazy!
Right. It's champion tier. All right. I can deal with that just fine.
So is Graham
You go
over his
absolutely
magic
bad.
item loot?
Huh?
Is Graham over his magic item loot?
No, not by far. I got
No,
barely anything. What I'm saying is, if like an actual artifact would take like 3 slots at this point, so that would sort of
Wow.
I think
pretty
either of
far.
us have actually...
haven't really found a lot of stuff.
No, we haven't.
Perfectly honest, but
Well,
Maybe this is a turning point. Maybe
have a couple.
I have two
maybe
things.
we'll meet some people we can
Yeah.
steal some items off. So-
Maybe, yeah. Maybe you can meet some
Steal
people
some
to steal
items.
some stuff from.
We don't
know?
do that, guys. Oh boy.
Both Enric and Graham looking at each other and thinking, we could have more.
Yes.
Gilgalad Russian.
If he's not like us, Graham, he would never accept us.
Sounds like
It's not
we have
true,
some,
lovers. Death is a fickle, jealous master.
Yes, that's true.
All right, let's see here.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
gonna format this into my actual character sheet. Go. I don't really need to break. Just stand there.
A 7! Oh my god!
What?
If you give this to the architect or the oracle, we get a relationship die with a 7, which means that they will do something absolutely extraordinary.
Mm.
Host Enrican's birthday party
Oh!
on that big scene
Oh, that'd be great.
for everyone to see.
But it's architect or the
I
oracle,
don't think
though,
we're
so-
gonna hand the architect
Well,
anything.
you know,
for
if
now.
I can get access to this forbidden libraries...
I will forgive you for the
Oh,
crime
that's
you
extraordinary!
Seriously?
handed to me. I shall construct a building or something.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. So,
All right. Well, broken blade of order and beauty. Right.
Oracle on the other hand.
Let's see here. Humans are natural habitat in haunted forest. You smite evil. Well, that seems pretty appropriate for something I do.
No, I like the other effect. Okay.
Magician once per day may convince anyone to talk the truth. They all know you're telling the truth. Alright. Being able to have people know that we're telling the truth is going to be very handy.
Hmm.
Alright. Alright. That is useful. Because then I will hold on to the ring as well. I have enough to bind with it, so I will do so. Not the martyr armor, though. We'll have to find something to do with that one, but probably not give that to charity. Some orphan. It's like, you can now die for your friends. Oh, no. That's very nice.
Great, thanks. That's... Oh.
But it really does have a weird connotation when you give it to someone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Like, here, die for me. You go.
Mm.
Yes, that's... Thank you. Alright. I'm gonna be right back like a minute while Graham like binds with these items and
Sure.
Yeah. calms down the ring, I suppose.
There.
It'll be okay. It was
We're just like, oh god,
let's
oh
see.
god, oh god.
So it's basically been a whole day, more or less.
Yeah.
Yes.
I suppose Gilgalad is probably, after seeing how everything is settled for now, it's gonna look to Unrekin after, since Graham's kind of busy. Say, do you think the elves are still out there? Or maybe the White, if he was the
Well-
one to survive?
I did see the white leave. There was some commotion, I believe, but I actually don't know. Sort of, this is the first time he sort of thought of the guys outside. It's like, I don't actually know what happened to him. I suppose we
He
should take a look.
Was barely alive when he left.
Look sort of outward. Well, I suppose we should take a look.
Hmm.
We'll go outside and take a peek.
Yeah, outside, you do see a little bit of distance away, a couple meters really only, that the elves have done two things. One, they have managed to subdue the white dragon and kind of bound him with like temporary things made from belts and just things to stop him from moving.
Is he like hog-tied?
Basically, yeah. And two, that they've set up a little camp with a sort of barely burning campfire and shoveled some of the snow out of the way to sit down. They are looking very confused
I'm back.
and maybe expectantly towards anyone coming out of the cave.
What does the dragon look like?
Oh, he looks very confused too.
What are they doing? Who?
They're just
The elves
camped.
and the
They
dragon?
subdued the dragon, hog tied it, and now they're just hanging out.
Oh, okay. Poor dragon.
Yeah, he's just
We
shit
could
day.
put another one in there.
Oh,
Oh, no.
bring him inside.
Round 2.
All right. Well. Yeah, I
Well.
suppose that's a thing.
Well, Gilgalad is gonna approach the closest elf. We greet him. He probably doesn't know his name though. And say, how long have you been with Amelia? Oh, sorry, Melissa.
He sighs a bit, says, "Oh, for far too long, I think. But we have sworn to protect her while she does her adventures around here.
Sworn to who?
Well, mostly to her. We know that boy of an heir likes her a lot, even though I'm pretty sure he has only met her for a couple of hours at best. But in a sort of whispery, quieter voice, he says, I do believe that he has not exactly grown past the point where womanly charms no longer overpower his intellect."
Do you have any clue as to how long ago did they meet?
So he's a horny teenager. That's what you say.
Oh, that's great.
Great.
Let those make some more decisions. And
Oh, it must have been some months ago, I believe.
Months.
There was the Harvest Festival in Respite, and they met. And things turned... Frowns again.
What do you know of her past?
Quite frankly, nothing. I haven't heard of her before, certainly. I know that she's not noble-born, although she doesn't look low-born either. Quite frankly, I don't know how she managed to get to the air in the first place, but she left an impression, to say the least.
As long as you have been traveling together with her, have you noticed anything strange about her? Perhaps the way she moves or the way she fights?
Well, I can say without a doubt that I haven't seen her fight, and she moves and talks like a noblewoman would.
I see.
Although, there's one strange thing that now that you mention it. When we got attacked at that strange tree, we tried to go to protect her, but she wasn't there. I figured she just managed to hide, and, well, that would have been good for her, but he shrugs. She probably did just hide. And Telzeba disconnected.
Wow.
Oh.
That's unfortunate.
just had to leave to save my token here.
Everyone is disconnecting.
His laptop is not strong. I don't have that much power.
Something strange, you said. Anakin continues.
Well, with something strange, I mean that she disappeared when he got attacked, but that's about it. That's about all I can think of. Anything else could be explained by... He frowns a bit. I shouldn't say these things.
And she's a nice mistress. Treats you well, looking at the frozen wasteland.
He frowns again, hesitates a bit. a bit shuffling around. It is not my place to complain about,
Now,
but she is a mistress, all right?
now, what if I told you that
We have this new blade power if we need it.
that she was actually something else entirely, and probably will not exit that cave?
He frowns deeply. Some of the others slowly reaching towards their weapons, but the person you're talking to sort of makes like a stop gesture.
Anakin sort of points towards the white dragon and says, "We almost single-handedly destroyed that thing in a few seconds. I don't think you would fare that well against us, so please don't."
And quite frankly, I don't think we should. I would rather you don't tell me what happened in that cave, so that if I get questions, if I get questioned, I can say that I don't know. But
Sounds fair to me.
Done.
you are in company with a cleric of Aduil, and I do believe that if he was in fact involved in a potentially nefarious scheme, I would have bigger problems than dying on this icy field by trying to oppose you with utter futility.
I can promise you that he did not intervene to stop whatever happened in there. Quite the opposite. Hello?
I cannot, someone. Could you repeat?
Anakin says, I can promise you that he did not interfere to stop whatever happened in there. Quite the opposite.
That is good enough for me. She was quite the adventurous woman, perhaps. Well, look at us. Adventures don't always turn out for the best, do they?
No. No, they don't. Sullen look. Where will you be heading from now on?
He frowns a bit. I do not know exactly where we are, but I do believe that we are at the point where going east might bring us closer to civilization than going west at this point.
We are also heading east. We are going towards Sterling Hold to deliver something. Travel together, that far at least. Strength in numbers. Those wolves and beasts might attack again. The cost was dire last time.
Well, if you would have us, then we would be glad to spend some more time traveling with you.
Sounds good to me.
Also, in other notes, since I did post the stat block of the sword in the chat, I gave you the wrong one because I'm stupid.
Gasp! The carrot of wimpiness.
Damn it!
It is, in fact, this.
Broken
Because
blade
as it
of
turns
all
out,
creation!
Fancy was not involved.
She wasn't.
No.
Bit of a behind-the-scenes blunder.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
The truth thing's gone. That's too bad.
Yeah,
That
probably.
was a really good one. Be like, big shit's coming from below. Activate power. Everyone's like, my god!
And they're like, well, we know now that that's what you believe.
Exact. Fuck.
You're like, god damn it.
God fucking
Bureaucracy.
I hate it
File
so
a
much.
report. Yeah.
We have sent a bureaucrat to investigate. It will take a few years. Like,
So the
might
timing
be
was
enough.
pretty perfect.
Now we can instead know about knowledge and of law and construction. So if we get accused again of crime, I will wield this blade as a lawyer. Say, oh, actually, let me
Slap
tell
it down. Objection!
If I may ask, what happened when Gilgalad blinded? Kind of blanked out for a while.
Well, Anakin asked what they would do if we told them that their mistress is not coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, that would be unfortunate. But then he looked at you and said, well, if he was there and oversaw it, I guess I can't stop you, really. And Anakin said, well, okay, that's good.
Mm. Yeah, well, to be honest, probably the less they know, the better.
Mm-hmm. That's what they said as well.
exactly what they said. Huh?
Mm.
I suppose we
Open
could
minds
go
think
with them,
alike.
like,
Yeah,
and get
I
out of the
strengthen
hell out of this
numbers.
place
I don't want to be attacked by the wolves again if I can help it.
Back going east,
Mhm.
continuing in our way. I mean, we still can deliver this dragon. I don't see reason why not. It's right on the way there.
We might as
Yeah,
well dump it
actually,
off, I guess.
yeah.
I don't care too much for it, honestly. It seems that all of that has sort of lost its meaning at this point, but
It's right on the way to Halldamir or Grimskill, which
Sure.
is down there.
Well, if we don't do that, every death we have encountered so far, it's gonna be for nothing, right? I mean,
Yeah, it was important because
The
at some
least we
point
can
it's going to
do.
help, like, either contain whatever happens when the Undragon eats the silver, or help the silver once the Undragon has, like, lost.
Mhm.
Like, so either way, it's going to do a thing. At least
plus,
that was the
just,
premise, right? That
just
that
leaving
it
it
wouldn't,
here could
it
be
wouldn't be
dangerous.
there if it didn't have a purpose for being
Yeah.
there.
Probably.
that seems fine. Fine, let's go and deliver this.
Did we kill the white dragon?
I know he's still
Yeah,
hog-tied.
we should probably, like, take him downstairs and inform him of his new job,
Yeah,
or suggest that this might be his new job.
yeah, sure. We'll go over and hunch down at eye level for him, and Anakin will say, "Well, listen, White One, we have a suggestion for you."
He, well upside down, cocks his head.
The cave where the blade was that you protected. The blade is no longer there, but instead there is a tomb of a dear friend. If you still seek a mission, and if you would be so kind, watch over it for us. Make sure that it stays in one piece, and make sure that anyone traveling through these frozen wastelands that you encounter will have a place to rest inside that cavern. That place and that sanctuary has been paid for in blood and suffering.
The conflict in the Wilder's eyes is rather obvious, but it is also very obvious that he realizes that he can't really, like, in any way, shape, or form, get back the thing he protected before, and he sort of mumbles to himself, "No blade to guard, no blade guard, but tomb guard."
I do have an optional offer for you.
A better title?
You see, you have, yes, perhaps. That is up to you, of course. You have proven so far yourself to be a danger to this world. And so my teachings would govern me to remove you from existence.
I would argue that you have proven a danger to my world.
Perhaps, then again, that is part of my duty. So, if you were to renounce the way of life you had before and devote yourself to a new purpose, I could consider the matter, I guess, dealt with.
He pauses for a bit.
Anakin nods slowly and says, "Yes, this seems reasonable to me. You would guard the tomb and guard the sanctuary, and you would do your best to help people survive this frozen wasteland. Lead them to the tomb, guard over them, and make sure that they survive. Be a guide, not a destroyer."
The instructions are written on the walls in poetic form. Read them, understand them, and I think your life will be one of happiness. No more conflicts like the one you had today.
You would have a purpose and you would serve everyone.
To be honest, I'm not sure we should grant you such an honor. But you might make yourself deserved of it.
There's a long pause where he switches his like focus between each of you for a moment.